So thank you for joining me for another Ultra AHA. Now, this one is possibly one that you may roll your eyes and go, duh, Bella. But I'm figuring if this was an AHA and a learning from me, then I'm not going to presume you know about this because it has surprised me the impact it had. And what it is regarding to emotions and training. And look, I am very familiar with my work with clients and my own history that trauma gets locked in our bodies. I get that, right? And I've always probably thought about it more in context after the effect and also years and years before. And so when I have a client having worked with me, then we're going back into their subconscious and trauma that has occurred decades before. What I had missed is the impact that emotions can have on you when you are moving your body and physically training. So let me explain. It is a couple of months ago now, and I was training down at the beautiful Currumbin. I was doing a run, and it was just a midweek one, which means that I'm just doing a 30-minute or a 45-minute run. And don't you love it? I could just say it like that these days. But because it's just time required, it's not as much ego about the kilometres aside. So the really interesting thing was I took a call, and I have now since learned I will not take any phone calls when I am running. But this was from a very dear friend of mine who I knew if she was ringing me, it was very likely it was going to be news that I didn't want to hear. But we hadn't spoken in a while, so I took the call. Through the conversation, this beautiful friend told us about another dear friend of ours who was our running buddy back in 2004. The three of us completed the Gold Coast half marathon together, and we called ourselves the Bunta Sisters. So this was a beautiful friend ringing about this other beautiful friend. And unfortunately, this other beautiful friend of ours, the word had come through that she was not well and possibly unlikely to get out of hospital. So I am getting upset about it, but it's still very new. But I do want to share this because when that news came through, I just kept running. I was training. I had a job to do. I had to get that training run done. And it wasn't that I was deferring. I mean, I actually stopped when the news came and the tears came straight away. But I chose to continue to run after the news, basically this girlfriend and I hung up. And that just beggars belief that I continued to run now. But by the end of that training run, I had a left ankle, which you're familiar with through my other videos, that had not been giving me much grief, really, really took hold. And that was the beginning of my left ankle journey. Now, what I love to this day is when I shared that this had happened and that, basically I'd taken this call and I'd had this real flood of sadness, beautiful running coach Neil just said, well, of course, it's your emotional state. It will be impacting you. And basically from that point on, I've had to navigate this left ankle, which now thankfully has actually healed up. But the reason I want to share this is that I did a heap more research about this. And the reason is I think a lot of us use a lot of forms of exercise, whether it's running, whether it's going out on a bike ride, whether it's going for a solid walk. If we're going to use exercise, we see the beautiful benefits with endorphins and the tonic, like the health tonic it gives us. But some articles that I came across is it is actually very detrimental to be doing big load of running like I was doing when you are going through a period of stress. And the two things that have struck home to me is that because in that stressful period, you are actually not in the present, you basically increase your chance of injury. And another big thing about it is because you are not in the present moment and you are actually doing it, it has an impact on your gait. And purely by that alone, it will give you a higher chance of injury. So I thought this was really interesting. I've obviously had that experience myself, and it has proven to be the case. But I wanted to share this to see for yourself and ask yourself the question, are you considering doing the training for your ultra so that it is all about helping you to negate negative emotions or sort of push some shitty stuff that's going in your life aside so that you can deal with it better by running? Because the research is out there that if you are going to do high levels of intense training when you are going through a period of chronic stress, they will cancel each other's benefits out. So don't do it. And the article was really clear about that when you are going through periods of chronic stress, and mine was, I would call it more an acute stress, so it required me to stop that training, not the whole training. But if you are in a really stressful time in your life and you're thinking taking on a significant event would be helping it, then the research is out there that it could contribute more to injury and greater stress than less. And what you're really needing in that chronic stress periods are activities that restore your body, restorative practices, bring on your stress response. But of course, when I got that news about my beautiful friend, I went straight into, well, it wasn't fight or flight, it was my stress response, fight, flight, fear, or fawn. I'm not sure, yeah, fear. It was the fear response. So that put my body into an additional level of stress that then the exercise I was doing, which exercise is stress, of course, because we do it so that we can have that beautiful adaptive process. But there are times to do it and there are times not to. And there are times when you're under chronic stress that to bring on a very serious physical goal may not be the right time. So hopefully this has been illuminating, or hopefully if you already knew this, unlike myself at this level, I hope this has helped to sort of cement that learning for you. And think about what is the fuel behind your ultra or your significant goal you've got. Are you choosing that goal because you actually want to distract yourself from shitty stuff going on, which is being stressful for you? Then I would ask you to stop and reflect and ask yourself, is that really the right strategy for where you're at? And if the answer is no, I want this ultra, your version of an ultra, I want to see what I'm capable of doing, and you are in a period where you are feeling, low levels of stress, then go for it. But don't needlessly put yourself out there for risk of injury. Just purely taking on that physical challenge is going to bring on a lot of the injuries or bring up what I call ghosts of ages past. Anyway, I hope this has been of value, and I look forward to some comments. It'd be really cool. Share it with anyone else you know that may be using a very stressful physical training to distract rather than support other stuff in their life. Have a great, great Sunday.